So we're going to talk a bit today about recruitment standpoint, get into the admin panel a bit, and then show how you can use Zoho One to enable a number of different tools that you may or may not be aware exist. So this is generally the flow of kind of working with your employees. Obviously, employees don't, not like weird little garden gnomes that grow out of the ground that you pluck and then bring into your office and have start working for you. They are people that exist out in the world, and you must market your business to them to some degree so that you can hire them. After you hire them, you're going to have to onboard them, and then once they are up and running in your payroll system, once they have the different tools they need to do their job and they have the right training to do their job, you're going to want to empower them to help them perform better over time, help them be more collaborative within your organization, and help them be more productive as well. So ultimately, when we're looking at these processes, there's actually a whole bunch of other processes that we're also looking at as well that go into that. So what I'm going to do first is kind of start with this hiring aspect. And for that, I'm going to use our trusty demo account here, Out of Line Design, which is a modern design company. And we've shown this website in a couple of sessions, and it's all built on Zoho sites, and it's all got all the Zoho tools on it. It's a pretty cool site. And one of the things that we have here at the bottom is a careers page. And this careers page is powered by Zoho Recruit, which is our recruitment application. Now, one of the kind of ironic things is if you go on the Zoho website, you won't find a careers page. We actually in the US do a surprising amount of hiring by word of mouth, but we also post on Indeed and things like that. So I know that many businesses in here might not be thinking, hey, I need a full-fledged recruitment software because, maybe I'm a 10, 20, 30, 40 person business and we're not hiring, 50 people a year. We just don't have that kind of scale, but still Recruit can be very helpful because when you do have that opening, you're able to manage that process. So what we have here is all the different positions that Out of Line is hiring for. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically be a prospective employee and we're going to apply for this graphic designer position. And so when we hit apply now, we are going to be asked to create a quick little account. And it's very important I use the right email if everything is going to go well today. So we'll go ahead and sign up. And so basically when we're applying for this job, it's going to just want our information here. And we'll put in, a phone number. And we can put in our city information. We can put in all sorts of different things. And this job is in San Francisco, so we'll go ahead and put that in and all of that. We can apply for the different kind of roles that we're looking for. And we can also, of course, add our resume. And I have a resume right here, just so you can see that it's actually a real resume. I'll open up this. So we see it's a real resume, pretty standard format, pretty typical. It is a .docx file. And we'll go ahead and open that. And we can add a cover letter as well and hit next. Now, when you see after we've submitted the resume, there is a little pre-screening assessment for a graphic designer. This is a little assessment quiz that we've created in Recruit that's being populated to the applicant because we want to basically just do a few screening questions real quick. So for graphic designers these days, it's pretty essential that they know the Creative Cloud for Adobe. There's different types of questions we can ask, like a quick little, what would you do in this situation? And if a client, for example, sends you a dull image with very low contrast, what would you do? Some basic little questions like that, and we can hit submit. So it says, thank you, applying, Nathan. We'll get back to you. The very first thing that Nathan did when applying for this position was created that little account. And so now he can check back in the status of this as well. So I'm not sure if any of us have applied for a job recently, but it's really annoying when there's not much transparency as to what's going on with that application. If you're trying to time maybe leaving a job, or if you are unemployed and you're applying to multiple things and you're trying to figure out what your next move is, it's really important and it's really nice when organizations can communicate with you in that effective way. So we've gone ahead and applied for a job as Nathan, and now we're going to stop being Nathan anymore, and we're going to go ahead and be whoever it is that is hiring this person, whoever is looking for this position. So we'll go ahead into Zoho Recruit. The first thing you'll notice is that it looks exactly like Zoho CRM. And this is because we realize that selling something is actually a lot like hiring a person. There's a process that you need to follow. So all of the stuff that we're able to develop in CRM, we bring over into Recruit. We customize all of that as well. And so, we basically have two different teams and two different parts of your organization using two different tools that are really benefiting from the same product development and the same technology development as well. So that's something that's just really nice to know. So when we get into Recruit, as in when we get into most applications, we want to understand kind of the lay of the land and what the most important modules are. And those are typically always kind of at this top, or maybe they're in the panel on the side. For this app, they're up here. And so the first one that we want to look at is job openings. And this is where we can list the different jobs that we are offering. This is all of those positions that appeared in the recruitment portal that was on the website. So it's just dynamically added and updated as you create records in the system. So Recruit manages that careers page for us. So we can go into the graphic designer position, and we can get details about, when we, our target date for hiring, that's coming up, which city we're hiring in, who is the assigned recruiter. We can see the kind of work experience we're looking for. We can see what we're thinking of paying this person. We can see the status of all this. So all of the kind of top level information that we would need for this kind of a job posting. We have a description, which, as we can see, a very thorough description, not gibberish at all, not anything that we just threw together at the last second that looks really great on stage. A very well done description, requirement, and benefit section. We can see the different interviews that we have set up that are associated. So again, how many of us are familiar with CRM, Zoho CRM? This is all looking really similar, right? We can see those related lists. We can see the way that records that are in different modules are being tied together to give us a whole view of what we're doing. It's all going pretty much the same that we might expect. So this is the position, and now we also have, of course, a candidates module, something that's very similar to the contacts module that we might be familiar with already in CRM. And what this is doing is keeping a big database of all of the applicants we've ever received for a job. And you can see we have a whole bunch of them here. Very much like leads and contacts that might be in your sales system, you want to always keep that big list of people who have who have applied for jobs, because you never know when you might be looking to hire someone, and maybe someone that applied 6 months ago, a year ago, is actually a really good fit. Maybe that can help speed up filling the position that is open. So right away we can see that Nathan, the person we just put into the system, is right here. And we can see that the source where he came from was our careers page. So we're tracking, where these candidates are coming from and how we're getting them in there. If this person was applying from Indeed, for example, Indeed would be listed as the source, and then the record would be created as well. So all of the big job boards, including all of the big crazy paid ones that might be very special to an industry, they all connect into Recruit very much like you would want a bunch of lead or contact records coming into your CRM. So one of the cool things we can see on the top level here is a rating. So how are we getting that rating? We're getting the rating from a few different things. The first thing the reason why we're getting the rating is because we have the assessment that we did, right? The assessment has automatically given a score, but then also you see this record is populated already, right? You see that there's information about work history, there's information about where this person went to school, a skill set. We didn't put any of this in. What has happened is Recruit has parsed the resume that was uploaded, extracted all of that data, and put it into the record. So that way, we're not combing through resumes. All of the stuff that has just been given on the resume has been put into a system, and now we can actually search through all of that data in a really easy way. How many of you have ever received a stack of resumes at like a job fair or something like that? how it sucks to go through them, right? Not fun. It's not an easy way to do it either, It just takes forever. You're always finding yourself putting a big stack into different piles and then have to kind of reassess which pile is what, and, the great candidates and the good candidates, well, are they actually really that different? So you put them in a pile and start sorting them back out again. It's a whole process, and it's not very efficient, especially when we're trying to fill positions quickly. So we have all of this, and what we're doing here to generate the score is basically just looking at the information that we have. So Nathan's looking like a pretty good candidate. So one of the cool things we can do now is go back to that graphic designer role, and there's even some really cool actions we can do, right? For example, we can associate a candidate to this, which we'll probably want to do for Nathan. We can schedule an interview from here. We can publish the job. We can also find matching candidates. So we'll be able to basically take the criteria for this position and look for candidates. So let's go ahead and do that. And that basically creates another list here that shows us a different group of people. So for example, this person is also looking pretty good. Nathan is going to be in this record somewhere. And that will be something that we can also use to help fill those positions. From here, we can schedule interviews, and when we schedule these interviews, we'll be able to put that on a calendar. We'll be able to notify the department manager or the hiring manager, the HR rep. When we're scheduling things, it's always, a little complicated the more and more people we want to schedule things for. And as we do those interviews, we can have multiple levels of all of that. What I want to do is just kind of start that process of thinking about us getting an employee, right? Because again, even if we're not a really big organization, it can be very easy just to upload a resume through this parser, sort all that out, and now just have all that. And now the next part of this is when it starts to get even better and it starts to make more sense, even if you have a business that's on the smaller side. Because what we can do is go into Nathan's record and offer him the job, right? So say we've gone through those interviews and we know Nathan's the guy we want to hire. What we need to do now is send an offer letter. So Recruit has a Zoho Sign integration, which is our digital signature tool. And so what we're going to be able to do, send an offer letter with the details that are relevant to Nathan and include the signed field so that he can sign it digitally and accept the position. So this is where we're combining the fact that we've uploaded the resume, can read the resumes easier, can schedule the interviews faster, and now can actually just automate or improve or speed up our actual job offering and signing process. So what we'll do here is add a document, and I have a PDF already prepared for this. And we'll go ahead and, set, we can set the signing order if we want to add a candidate, and then also the HR manager. We can do all of those things. And after we set all that up, we can just hit next. And you can see, how many of us have seen Zoho Sign before? This is all Zoho Sign, right? Looks very familiar to us. So this tool is nicely integrated into here. And so we have this information where we can say, how many days does Nathan have to complete this? How many other signers need to be added? So for example, we can add an additional signer, and we can say that, David here needs to sign this second. So David will only be given this after Nathan signs it, which makes sense because we don't need David to sign anything unless Nathan's accepted the job. And we can go ahead and hit continue. And then it'll bring up this document that we've already created, like I said. And you see we have a pretty standard, situation here. We got to zoom out though. And we can add the signature field that we need by just dragging it on here. We need a sign date field. We can drag it on here. We need an initial, which we can, kind of prompt by just putting maybe over here somewhere, right? Maybe right there. And that's all we need to do. And we can hit send, right? And of course, we'd want to also add in the David fields as well, like what is he going to need to send, but we don't need to go into all that. I think we get it. So from there, we can send that offer letter. So we've gone ahead and hired Nathan. We've basically sent out that offer letter, and now the ball's in Nathan's court, and we're going to basically just be waiting on getting that signature back. So what happens after Nathan accepts? Background check. Yeah, totally. We're going to want to make sure that Nathan is not hiding a dark past. So yeah, we're going to want to basically onboard and do the background check and all that. Zoho doesn't do background checks, but we do integrate with providers and services that do that. So you'll be able to run that background check without any problem. And assuming that background check has gone through and that we're all good to go, we're going to want to onboard Nathan. And that, again, will consist of a number of things here, where we're going to need to assign him assets if we give away or we give our employees devices. We'll need to deploy software, sign different HR policies, and also add them to payroll. But what I'm going to really focus on, though, is that, again, within this Zoho One context, how are we able to achieve these things? Because that's really what we're aiming to do with Zoho One, because we're giving you that single technology platform, that single software platform that allows you to empower and enable your employees. So what we're going to do is hop back into Zoho One and go into the admin panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into our users area, and we're going to add this new user because Nathan has taken the job. And we're going to go ahead and add him. And we're going to go ahead and hit add. So just like that, we now have a new user in the system. Nathan has been added. And now we're going to be able to start deploying the different tools that Nathan needs to do his job. So the first thing we can do, though, as I just saw, or as I just clicked, I think I clicked past it, is that we sent an email to ourselves to start with that Nathan's new address is nathan@outofline.site, and we have his one-time password that we're going to give him, right? So that means now that on Nathan's side, he'll be able, when we give him this information, to log in, and he'll be able to start doing the things that we're needing him to do. So what apps do we want to give Nathan? That is always the question. He's automatically added in Click. Let's go ahead and give him CRM access. And you see here that we're given a roles list in our system, so we can see, what he might need to have, and we can give him a standard account. He'll probably need a Docs account so he can upload documents and work productively. He might need a social account because maybe we'll ask him to post some things to social so that way he can help us manage our brand. He'll definitely need an account in People, and the reason for that is because People is our actual self-service HR tool. So this will be the thing that helps onboard Nathan. It'll be the place he returns to when he wants to request time off. It'll be the place that we do his performance reviews. It will be the place where he can view the entire org chart. It'll be a really important tool for him going forward. So we're going to go ahead and add that, and we can pick his role and designation and put him in his department, say the location that he's going to be working in, and get that all set up. And let's see, what else might we want to add for Nathan? We can give him a connect role. I think that'll probably do it for now. And we'll go ahead and hit assign. And you can see that after I tried to hit assign, some mandatory fields were not selected, so it's not letting me add him quite yet. And hit assign, right? So just like that, literally in like the 15 minutes that I've been up here, however long I've been up here, we've gone from taking an employee in the recruitment system, sending the offer letter, to basically giving them all the software they're going to need to do their job, right? Now, Zoho, of course, doesn't do like Photoshop or a Photoshop equivalent. So obviously we're going to need to go out and get him, a Creative Cloud license and stuff like that as well. But for the key parts of what he needs to do, the key aspects of what we're trying to enable for him, we've given him a lot of great tools here. We can also go in here to the mail settings and enable Zoho Mail for him as well, right? So that's all going to be set up. We can also, add him to additional groups. We can look at the security policies. For example, we can enforce two-factor authentication on Nathan. Who's familiar with two-factor authentication? It should be everyone, because Zoho, I think, generally speaking, uses two-factor authentication. And that's going to be something that helps keep your data secure and make sure that when Nathan's logging in, it actually is Nathan. And obviously, we have to configure all that stuff as well. So that's basically just the beginning for us of setting up Nathan with his account. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and return to being Nathan and log in as him. Out of Line has their domain registered. So you see Nathan at outofline.site is already ready to go. Now we have to give him a new password. Okay, and he can choose his time zone, which we won't worry about. And it's going to open up here, right here, in Nathan's account, all of the apps that we've just provisioned for him, right? So have we done this before then if we're using Zoho One, right? Pretty good so far? Okay, so now Nathan can go in, check his email, and there's a few different messages that he'll see, including some product onboarding, but I want to draw your attention to this email that's waiting for him here from David, which says Employee Handbook. So when we go ahead and open that email, it says, "Hello, Nathan Jobs. As a part of your onboarding, we need you to read the Employee Handbook. For more information, please check out your onboarding task. Regards, David." So when we open up this task, it takes us over to People, and it's already begun the process of automating what we need to happen in Zoho People to continue the onboarding process. So People, much like in CRM, has workflows where you can set up tasks and then deploy those tasks to your users when certain triggers are hit. So this is an onboarding task for him to go and look at the Employee Handbook, goes over to Services, Files. The Employee Handbook is right here, and you can go ahead and look at that and eventually mark it off, right? So we've begun that process of doing all the onboarding. Obviously, we also need to collect more information from Nathan. We need him to update stuff for like W-2s or whatever else the tax information might be. And we can also start that process through here. I'm just showing a basic version of this, but he can go in and start doing the things that we need. And as, he needs to do more and more things for us, he'll have that portal that he can return to all the time. So we've begun that power really now of moving from onboarding and moving really more into this phase of empowering our employees, which is when we can really begin the process of motivating them, training them, and tracking their performance so we can help them improve and do a better job, right? So some of those things that we're going to be using to empower are going to actually be the tools themselves that we have deployed, which is a very nifty tool, is Zoho Click. How many of us are familiar with Click? Click is our team communication platform, right? It's basically something akin to Slack or other chat apps that are out there. So this is going to allow Nathan to, message directly with his coworkers, also participate in different channels, be added to different channels where he'll be able to talk to his team. There's threaded conversations that exist in those channels so you can keep up on what's going on. At Zoho, we use Click extremely heavily. For this event, I can't tell you how many different channels I've been pulled into where we've had quick discussions about all the stuff that we're trying to organize and put together. So it's a pretty effective thing. One of the things, though, that sometimes people don't realize is just, though, how much Click can actually do. Obviously, we know that we can send chats and all that kind of stuff, but one of the other things, it's a little spread out here, is also the different audio, video calling, and screen sharing possibilities that are also in there as well. So it's really a complete communication platform, right? And of course, there is a mobile app where you can also take these audio and video calls and have all of the different personal chats. You can also have the team chats as well, wherever you are. And again, that's really helpful. One of the things that's also nice, and it depends, if you're a Mac user and you have iMessage on your desktop and stuff, and you're using FaceTime on your laptop, then this, I guess, applies a little less, but I know many of us also use PCs. One of the nice things about Click is that, this happened just a few moments ago before I got on stage. I needed to get a hold of Dylan, who's in the back and who's going to be coming up here later today. Instead of giving him a call, which that phone might be silent, and it might not, be around him necessarily, I just dialed him on Click, because I know that if he's on his computer, that message is going to pop up and he can take my call through the computer. And if he's not on his computer, I have a good chance of getting a hold of him on the phone, right? So rather than just make a call, which would normally be an easy way of doing that, doing the digital call actually gives me more ways to try to actually get a hold of him quickly. Again, if we're using Mac and we have iPhones and we're using FaceTime and we're using iMessage a lot, then this matters a little less. But for many of us that don't have those features on our devices, this is something that can be really, really helpful, just as a little way of speeding things up. So we have that, but one of the things I also want to highlight is that Click, aside from being this standalone web app that you can use, and also a really great native app on the Mac if you have a MacBook, Click is actually woven into all of the different apps that we might be using. So this bar down here is what we call, it's kind of hard to see, is the Smart Chat. And what we can see here is that chat bar. Taz is our little notification bot, and Taz can help do some onboarding for a new Click user. But what we also, have is just this chat bar that we can use. So for example, if we're trying to message David, we can say, hey, I don't think David's actually online, but we can also have that audio and video call right from here as well. So what we're able to do with this chat platform is weave that into all of the different applications, and that way you're not pushing your users to all these different places. Is this, you know what I mean? It's that when you tell someone, you get a new sales rep and you are onboarding them, you go, look, this is the CRM. The CRM is integrated with your email. All of the customer emails that you're going to be sending, you can send from here. You don't have to really worry about much else. When new emails come in, you'll be notified. Maybe you'll need to go into Gmail or Zoho Mail once in a while and use that, but for the most part, you're going to be right here. If you need to schedule or you need to have a quick meeting with someone or get a hold of someone, there's that little chat bar right in here. You don't even have to go to a separate app, right? You don't have to log into a new thing. It's all going to just be right here in one interface, and it's all going to be very simple, easy to use, because as we know, most of the time that software fails within an organization, sometimes it has to do with the software itself and it just not being very good and not doing what was advertised. Sometimes it's that we can't figure out how to get it to work, but a lot of times, a surprising amount of times, it's because people just decided, yeah, not using that. That's not happening. And when that contract then comes up, it's like, well, are we going to renew for something that we're not using and that everyone hated? Probably not, right? So with being able to bring something as simple as chat into a lot of larger, bigger apps, we're able to really, cut down on the training time. We're able to empower the employee, and we're able to reduce all the complexity that the software world can kind of throw at an employee, And I'm pretty aware that, I'm not very old, and I've been on computers my whole life, so I'm very comfortable with a lot of these things, but it's hard to kind of drive that transformation when you have sales reps that are over 35, over 40, over 50, or employees that are over that, and that's of course a big chunk of the workforce, right? So it's important that we try to do everything we can to make it easy for employees of all ages, of all skill levels to adopt these tools and make good use of them so we can drive that productivity, So that's kind of all I wanted to show. As we continue to work and Nathan continues to do what he's doing, we'll do performance reviews. All that will be managed through people. We'll be able to collaborate. We'll be able to drive the productivity forward. And that's basically, the most part of what I wanted to talk about. Sound good? That's all my time. Thank you.